She left everything behind and never looked back. Here's why. I refused to be the designated babysitter when my family planned a vacation for Mom's 60th birthday without even considering my opinion. I'm 27 years old, and for the past 5 years, I have dedicated myself to my career as a manager at Preston Technologies, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in Austin. While my younger sisters were starting their families, I was climbing the corporate ladder. Do not get me wrong. I love my job and the life I have built, but there are moments when I wonder if I missed something along the way. No husband, no kids, just me in my office with a view of downtown Austin. It was a typical Tuesday morning when my phone rang. My youngest sister, Lauren, 25 years old, was calling. Her name flashed on the screen just as I was sorting through a pile of quarterly performance reports. I answered, still half focused on the numbers in front of me. Hey, Ash, do you have a minute? Lauren's cheerful voice carried through the speaker. Sure. What is going on? I asked, pushing aside my papers. So, you know Mom's turning 60 in 2 months, right? She paused dramatically. Well, we are planning something special, and we need everyone to pitch in. That caught my attention. Okay, how much are we talking about? She named the amount, and I nearly spit out my coffee. It was more than I had spent on my last vacation, which, now that I thought about it, had been 3 years ago. I know it is a lot, Lauren added quickly, but it is for Mom, you know? No, it is fine, I said, already opening my banking app. I will transfer it now. Great. Oh, and one more thing, make sure you take a week off work for the trip. Do not schedule anything during that time, okay? The following weeks were a blur of meetings and deadlines. Occasionally, I would wonder what exactly my sisters were planning with all that money, but whenever I asked, they brushed me off with vague answers. Eventually, work consumed me, and Mom's birthday plans slipped to the back of my mind. Then came the Saturday family dinner at my parents' house. Everyone was there, Mom, Dad, my sisters, and Susan, and her kids. The usual chaos of a family gathering filled the air. Dad told his usual Texas football jokes. Mom fussed over making sure everyone had enough to eat. It was just another typical evening until Lauren spoke up, pushing the asparagus around on her plate with deliberate casualness. So we finally finished planning Mom's birthday, she announced. We are all going to spend a week at Mountain Pine Resort in Colorado. The table erupted with excitement. Mom was glowing with happiness. Dad was already talking about hitting the slopes, and my sisters were debating which ski runs they would try first. I blinked. Wait, why did no one tell me about this sooner? I asked, suddenly feeling left out. I do not even own a ski suit, and there is barely any time to get one. An uneasy silence settled over the table. Mom cleared her throat, and my stomach clenched. I knew that tone. It was the same one she used whenever she wanted something she knew I would not want to give. Well, honey, she said carefully, we were hoping you could do us a big favor and watch the kids while we are there. I stared at her, then at my family. Surely, someone was about to laugh and say this was all a joke. But no one did. The silence stretched on, broken only by the clinking of silverware against plates. You want me to watch the kids? I finally asked. All 5 of them? My mind began listing them automatically. Lauren's toddler, Noah. Isabella's baby, Lily. Nathan's twins, Lucas and Anna. And Daniel's son, Leo. 5 children, all under 7 years old. Well, you were so great with them. Mom beamed, as if that was all the explanation needed. They loved their Aunt Ashley. I scanned the table, searching for some sign that someone understood how absurd this was. Nothing. Just expectant faces waiting for my usual answer. That is not fair, I heard myself say, my voice sounding foreign to my own ears. I want to celebrate with everyone, too. It is Mom's birthday. Isabella sighed and set her fork down. Come on, Ashley, you would be bored there anyway. It will be loud and crowded. Bored. I repeated, incredulous. How do you know what I would feel? She exchanged a glance with Lauren, then said, You are amazing with the kids. They adore you. And, honestly, you do not need a break from family life like the rest of us do. My chest tightened. What is that supposed to mean? Lauren took over, her voice dripping with that patronizing tone she had perfected over the years. She just means that you do not have kids or a husband to escape from like we do. We need a break. You get that, right? I blinked, my plate blurring in front of me. I would not give them the satisfaction of seeing me cry. Instead, I stood up, pushing my chair back deliberately. Ashley, Mom said, a hint of concern in her voice, but not enough to stop me. I grabbed my purse and walked to the door. No one tried to stop me. No one called after me. The only thing I heard as I stepped outside was Mom's voice, distant and dismissive. Do not worry. She will be upset for a bit, but she will come around. She always does. The crisp evening air hit my face as I walked to my car. 10 years. 10 years of being the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who always said yes. And this was how they treated me? The babysitting request was not even the worst part. It was the way they had planned everything, using my money, my vacation days, without even asking me. Like I was just a resource to be used. Back in my apartment, I paced for hours, replaying every family event where I had put my needs last. Cooking dinner at 16 while Mom helped Isabella with homework. Skipping a spring break trip at 18 to watch Lauren while our parents took a weekend away. Turning down opportunities, working late, sending money home, always sacrificing, always saying yes. By dawn, I had made up my mind. I was done being their afterthought. I picked up my phone and called Mom. Hey, Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady. I have been thinking about the trip. I have a solution. I will hire a professional babysitter for all the kids so I can celebrate with everyone. The silence stretched a beat too long. That will not work, Mom finally said, her voice tense. We cannot trust a stranger with our kids. They're used to you. Mom, I want to be part of the celebration too. I will find a great babysitter, someone experienced. You are not exactly the social type, she cut in, her tone sharp. You would probably be uncomfortable with all the noise and excitement anyway. Watching the kids is what makes the most sense. Before I could respond, the line went dead. I sat there, phone still pressed against my ear. She had not even said goodbye. And then it hit me, this was not just about a vacation. This was about years of them taking me for granted. Years of assuming I would always be available, always put their needs first. Maybe it was time to prove them wrong. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt lighter, almost free. The shame that had been dragging me down for so long was gone, replaced by something far stronger, determination. I sat down at my laptop and started booking a hotel. Within an hour, I had a place booked on the beach in Florida. It wasn't extravagant, but it had a balcony with a perfect view of the ocean and was close to anything I might need. I even treated myself to a first-class ticket for the flight. I had the money, and I wasn't about to waste it on something I wasn't going to enjoy. The next few days were quiet at work, and my family stopped calling and texting. They must have thought I was home, preparing for a week of looking after the kids, picking up extra snacks and planning activities. The idea of it made me smile. I packed my beachwear and a new swimsuit. In the middle of winter, I was heading for the sun. When my coworker Janet asked me about the Florida weather forecast, I just shrugged and said, sometimes you need to do something unexpected. It felt good to say it out loud. I was surprised at how good it felt. On the morning of my flight, I did a quick check of my apartment. I had cleaned every inch of it, out of habit. The fridge was empty, the windows locked, everything in its usual place. The only difference now was that I wouldn't be answering any frantic calls for help with the kids. As I was leaving for the airport, Aunt Susan sent me one last text. The kids are so excited to spend time with their favorite aunt. Don't disappoint them. I felt a twinge of guilt, but then I remembered how, during dinner at my mom's birthday, they all smiled and nodded, barely acknowledging me while they went on with their own conversations. I let the guilt fade. Nathan had sent a detailed schedule for the twins' medication and allergies. Sophia had listed their favorite foods and activities, and Daniel reminded me that Leo couldn't sleep without a particular blanket. It was like everyone assumed I would follow their plan, even though I had clearly been reluctant to go along with it. As I waited at my gate, more messages came in. We're counting on you, Ashley. The kids are all packed. Don't forget Noah's stuffed dinosaur for bedtime. I left detailed instructions about Lily's feeding schedule. I turned my phone off and put it in my bag. No more emails, no social media, no family drama. Just me, the beach, and a whole week of peace. As the plane took off and Austin disappeared behind the clouds, I thought about the storm that would be waiting for me when my family arrived at my empty apartment. A part of me felt sorry for the kids. They didn't deserve this. But at the same time, maybe it was time for their parents to step up and start being real parents instead of relying on their convenient, single sister to be the default babysitter. For the first time in years, I was choosing myself. And oddly enough, it felt right. When I landed in Florida, the air greeted me like an old friend. The palm trees swayed in the breeze, and I could smell the ocean even before I reached the hotel. The suite was even better than the pictures. The balcony had a perfect view of the vast blue sky, and I could hear the waves crashing on the shore. That first afternoon, I walked barefoot along the beach, letting the warm sand sink between my toes. When was the last time I did something just for me? I swam in the hotel pool, read a book without interruptions, and had dinner at a little seaside restaurant. No one needed me to cut up their food or clean up any messes. I watched the sunset from my balcony, sipping a glass of wine, feeling totally free from the worry of schedules or responsibilities. The last morning of my trip, I soaked in the final moments of peace. I knew I'd have to face the chaos I left behind, but I wasn't ready for the storm of messages and missed calls that awaited me when I turned my phone back on. It buzzed constantly, the messages and voicemails flooding in from every direction. The timestamps showed they had started the morning I left. Lauren's first message read, "Where are you? We're outside your house." Then came Emma. "Ashley, open the door. The kids are getting restless." Nathan, "Hey, we brought Lucas and Anna like we planned. Are you home?" And Daniel, "Ashley, what's going on? Leo's asking for his aunt." As I read through them, I could see the scene unfold. My family was outside my empty house, standing with 5 confused kids, their bags packed for the resort, while their perfectly laid plans were falling apart. The tone shifted quickly from confusion to panic. "Ashley, this isn't funny. Where are you? Pick up your phone. What are we supposed to do with the kids?" Then came the anger. "You selfish witch. How could you do this to us?" Isabella's messages weren't much better. "I can't believe you're so immature. You ruined Mom's birthday." And Susan's message made me cringe. I had never heard her speak like that before. Mom's messages came later in the day. "I'm very disappointed in you, Ashley. I never thought you'd be so selfish after everything we've done for you." Even Dad, who rarely texted, sent one. "Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy with yourself." The voicemails were worse, full of rage, disappointment, and accusations. Extended family members I hadn't heard from in months joined in, condemning my actions. "You've always been so reliable. How could you do this to your own family?" I sat in my calm hotel room, reading these messages, realizing what my family really thought of me. They had all used me, assumed I would be there when they needed me, and now they were furious that I wasn't. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I was done being their go-to solution, and it felt good. I packed my bags and headed to the airport. When I got home, I was no longer the Ashley they expected, the one who would apologize and try to fix everything. That Ashley was gone. I had barely finished unpacking when I heard a loud knock at my door. Before I could even get to it, I heard a key turning in the lock. My mom had an emergency key. They rushed in like a storm, Mom leading the charge with Lauren and Isabella right behind her, all of them looking furious. The peaceful mood I had created in Florida vanished in an instant. Lauren stepped forward, her face red with anger. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she yelled. "You ruined everything. Everything." I stood my ground as they let their anger loose. I had been the one who always helped, the one who canceled my own plans to step in when they needed me. I was always the dependable one. But this time, things were different. They ranted about how I ruined Mom's birthday and the trip. No one could enjoy ourselves, Mom complained, her voice rising. "We just kept talking about how you betrayed us." They were all speaking over each other, getting more and more worked up. But as they went on, something inside me broke, not in the way they expected. I started laughing. My laughter stopped them cold. They stared at me, confused and shocked. "What's so funny?" Mom demanded. "How can you laugh at a time like this?" I wiped away tears of laughter and looked at them. "Don't you see how ridiculous this is?" I asked. "Do you really not get how absurd you all sound right now?" Isabella spoke up. "You planned this whole thing, didn't you?" I shook my head. "You decided to watch your kids without asking me. You took my money, told me to take time off work, and assumed I would just go along with it. Now that everything's falling apart, you're calling me the villain. But you've always called on me before." Mom looked confused. "But you've never said no." "Exactly," I replied. "Because I always helped, and that's the problem. You stopped seeing me as your daughter or sister and started seeing me as free childcare." Lauren tried to argue, but her voice was unsure. "That's not true," she said weakly. I raised an eyebrow. "Really? Then why didn't you include me in the planning? Why didn't you ask me if I wanted to go to the resort? Why did you assume I'd be okay staying behind with 5 kids while everyone else had fun?" They were silent for a moment, their expressions hardening. "You're being selfish," Mom said, her tone icy. "You ruined everything." "No, Mom," I said, my voice steady. "You're the ones being selfish. This whole situation is your fault, not mine." She straightened up, her face hard. If you feel that way, then maybe I no longer have a daughter named Ashley. I looked at her calmly. If that's how you feel, then so be it. 6 weeks passed since that confrontation. 6 weeks of silence, broken only by occasional posts from my family on social media. Some people only think about themselves, Mom posted last week, followed by dozens of supportive comments from relatives who only knew her side of the story. Family should always come first, Lauren posted yesterday, with a picture of her son. So blessed to have people who understand what that really means. Isabella's post was the longest. She referred to toxic people who destroy family bonds with their selfishness, without tagging me, of course. But everyone knew who she meant. A few months ago, these posts would have torn me apart. I would have spent hours thinking of the perfect responses, losing sleep over what they said. But now, I just scroll past them with a small smile. I've changed. I've joined a book club in my neighborhood, and my weekends no longer revolve around emergency childcare calls. Last week, I booked a trip to Europe in the spring. No more checking everyone else's schedules or making sure it fits with their plans. I just found a good deal and went for it. I still think about my nieces and nephews from time to time, and I miss them. But not in the same way I did before. I hope that when they're older, they'll see the patterns and make a different choice. I still have the emergency key Mom gave me. I keep meaning to send it back, but something always stops me. Part of me hopes that someday, they'll realize how unfair they've been, how they took advantage of me. But I'm not waiting for that anymore. I'm not putting my life on hold for their approval. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first, and it feels right. Yesterday, I quietly removed the family group chat from my phone. No announcements, no explanations. I just stepped away from one more commitment. Some people will call it selfish. My family certainly does. But I've learned that there's a difference between being selfish and having self-respect. Sometimes, the healthiest thing is to walk away from people who only see your value in terms of what you can do for them. As I sit in my peaceful home, looking through travel guides for my upcoming European trip, I realize something. The silence that once felt so threatening now feels like freedom. The empty space in my calendar that used to make me anxious now feels like endless possibilities. I'm no longer just the dependable aunt, the perfect daughter, or the helpful sister. I am Ashley. And for the first time in my life, that's enough.